Maybe. Depends on what you're doing with it.
Michelle's class.
Oh, okay. Or as long as it's not social media mockery or something.
No, never.
So what I want to talk about is just give you a quick introduction to SOIS and less about how it operates and more about what it is and how you might take best advantage of it. I think it's really helpful to think about SOIS as a platform. Like any platform, kind of facilitates some work that you can do on your own behalf, can connect you to the world, entangle you in a good set of opportunities. It's a platform, I would say, that privileges autonomy, right? That's the one clear difference, I would say, between us and the other colleges is we really do give you a lot of responsibility and a lot of opportunity to make choices on your own behalf. It really allows you some time to develop a role for yourself in the world. How it is, what story you're going to tell employers, what story it is that you're going to tell graduate schools, and in some ways is a pretty unique opportunity in your life to develop a coherent vision of who you are and what you want to accomplish in the world. And it's also a really interesting platform to develop skills and to think about the kinds of skills that are going to sustain you, not only through to getting a first job, but also that are going to sustain you through the course of your career. We'll talk a little bit later today about the impact of AI and how that's complicating our sense of what future jobs are going to look like. But you've got a distinctive opportunity here, different than other students on campus, to really customize something in some important ways. Some folks experience this opportunity as exciting and produces a sense of self-determination. For the first time in your organized education, you're the one who's making the decision about what's going to happen next, right? So 12 years K-12, maybe a couple years here at RIT, somebody's always been showing you the flow chart and telling you what's next. And now for the first time, someone's saying, what do you want to do? And that can be exciting, it can be a little tense as well. We all get socialized into the world of the flow chart, and then when it's gone, we recognize pretty quickly that there's some responsibility there too. Some folks experience just a release of pressure. It's nice to have some time to think. It's nice to have some time where you're maybe not as hung up about GPA and not as hung up about other threats that maybe are hanging over your head, and I hope that's absolutely true for all of you. The number one thing we try to do around here is we don't care if you come through the front door, the side door, the back door. We are convinced that you can be successful here. My line all the time is if you were smart enough to be admitted to RIT, you were perfectly smart enough to exit here with a high quality credential. And I'm looking forward to the day that I see you all crossing stage and get a chance to shake your hand. These structures exist at pretty much every major comprehensive university in the United States, right? They go by different names. Some of them are programs in interdisciplinary studies. Some of them are programs in integrative studies, multidisciplinary studies, individualized study, customized program, self-designed program, but they're all facilitating the same thing, right? They're allowing a select number of students the opportunity to custom design a curriculum and to frame a path that works for them. And so one of the things that you can count on is that as you go out into the world, you know, whether that world is graduate education or whether that work is employment or service or whatever it turns to be, you don't have to get hung up on people not knowing what it is, right? K-12 right now, every other kid has an IEP. People are used to playlisting everything. They're used to hacking products that they get hold of. Everybody understands customization and personalization. And really, the only thing you have to think through is how you're going to explain to the world how it is you took advantage of the opportunity. The opportunity itself is transparent. People get it. They understand it. But what they're going to say is, okay, you took this opportunity to do things a little bit differently. How did you go about it? Okay. So I want to just kind of walk you through what I think are maybe three main opportunities of being in a program like this. The opportunity to build a network, the opportunity for self-discovery, and the shaping of a customized portfolio of skills and experiences. And then we'll do a quick discussion of maybe how you act on those opportunities. And I can come back at another time and talk more if there's stuff that you want some follow-up on. But man, building networks, self-discovery, portfolio skills. Did this group read the Rooney article? Did they have it?
Yes.
They did. You guys, the Frank Rooney piece. That's a really nice, elegant, short piece on really thinking about college in general as an opportunity. I think as one of the commentators in that short essay said, it's an opportunity to extend the network of people that care about you. And it's a weird thing. It can be maybe framed even as modestly corny, but it's fundamentally true. You're just not going to be in a situation the rest of your life where you have this opportunity to build out real and lasting connections of people who have an interest in your success. And the key message for me is that you just got to be deliberate about it. You can't assume that it'll happen on its own, and you can't assume that network building won't take a little bit of work. And I can say a little bit today about how you nurture those networks, but again, maybe it's another moment where I could come back a little bit later on. One of the things that we know is that there's an emerging body of research that is suggesting that the quality of network that you build has as much impact on your social mobility moving forward as does the credential that you walk with, right? We've always sold college on the basis of you come, you get the right major, that major translates into a certain kind of economic return, and you go off and you do a job. Now there's some interesting data out there that's being pursued by a number of researchers, and indeed one that we're going to have here later in the semester. Peter Feldman will be here at the end of March from Elon University. He's been working on this data. There's some sense that there's reason to believe that you should put as much effort into the network building and network sustenance as you should into worrying about course selection and curriculum pathways. High quality networks not only involve people that you are fundamentally are in your close circle and you're trusting and they're your friends and they're the kind of people that you gripe with and the kind of people that you talk about feelings with and the kind of people that you talk about the experiences that you're having every day. But also a kind of secondary circle of people who know you, have respect for your capacity, have good hunches about what it is you can do well in the future, are inclined to think about you as a potential collaborator, a potential employee. And one of the interesting puzzles that this research is showing is most students think that it's that tight first circle that's going to have the most impact on them as they move forward through their future careers. But the evidence is suggesting it's that secondary circle, right? Yes, we should all have good friends, and we all want the therapeutic impacts of having good friends. That it's just core to being a healthy human being. But the suggestion is figuring out how to build relationships in that second circle is really important too. Who are potential second circle folks? Faculty, most certainly, but maybe people you meet at career fairs, advisors, peers that are not necessarily close, but peers that are perhaps working in a territory that you're interested in. Those are all probably key secondary connections for you to think about. And again, these relationships take some nurturing. They take a nurturing that's a little bit different, I would say, than what you do with your friend group. You can't assume, probably the fundamental thing is that everybody's going to remember you, just on the basis of having connected with you once. You got to think about ways that you become memorable, that you make it easy. Come on in. That you make it easy for people to remember what you're capable of doing. So the common thing for me as a faculty member is, in probably the ways in which most students engage faculty members in this kind of secondary level connection most often, is by asking for reference letters. And the worst case scenario for me is I have somebody as a freshman in a class, and then 4 years later they come and say, would you remember when I was in that class, would you mind writing a letter for me? And I'm like, I've had 600 students since then. So what is it you can do to sustain that network? You can check in once a year. It doesn't, we all have these crazy things called office hours. And some of the students who leverage this stuff most effectively get really skilled at poking their head in the office. Just want to let you know, I still think about the stuff that I learned in your class. I want you to know that I'm thriving. I want you to know about this is the thing that I did in my last co-op. And see where the conversation goes from there. And 9 times out of 10, if you're there at the right moment, you're there during scheduled office hours, faculty will respond, they'll engage you in conversation, they'll talk to you about what it is you're trying to accomplish. Then when you come and ask for that letter, there's something that's stuck with me. Even better, if you've shared work with me, I want to show you, I know we did a certain kind of writing together in my class, but I'd love to get your feedback on this piece that I did in another class if you have the time. People start associating you with a body of work. I've got stuff to say. The worst kind of reference letter you can get is an invisible one, right? And that often happens with people that I haven't seen for 4 years or 5 years. I say the ritually nice things. Yeah, I remember him, he was a nice guy. He came to class. That's not what an employer wants to hear. It's not what a graduate program wants to hear. They want to hear me talk in some depth about what your capacities are as a critical thinker, what your capacities are as a reader, what your capacities are as a writer. So you need to anticipate the needs of that network and figure out how you're going to sustain it. And generally it's just making sure you circle back, take advantage of the technical tools. There are a lot of students now that just rely on LinkedIn to contact me. I hope you're doing well. Just want to let you know I've made it through a semester, things are going well. Here's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. Great, happy to hear it, glad to hear it. And lo and behold, this creates a record in my message link right on the platform, and I can take advantage of that pretty skillfully. We can come back and talk about this kind of stuff at another time if it's helpful to folks. So network. It's probably the one thing advisors and faculty in SOIS will hammer away at you. It really is a special opportunity. You guys have to go out and tell your story in the world one way or other. And again, getting used to building out that secondary network is one way to do that. So the second thing we want to talk about, I think the platform is a really distinctive opportunity for figuring out what makes you happy. And I don't mean that in a kind of surface way. Gosh, I'm happy when I have more money than less money. That's one that we can all resonate with. But really figuring out where you perform well, what it is that pushes you to the highest level of performance possible. I've been telling folks about some of the work that's happening in positive psychology right now that is really interested in high performance conditions. Right? Positive psychology is really interesting because it focuses not on deficits, but in fact the resources that individuals have, all individuals have, that make it possible for them to do their best work. And there's a psychologist out there by the name of Csikszentmihalyi, and I can't spell it, so I can't turn around and write it on the board. But is author of a book called Flow. And flow is actually a term that most of us are probably familiar with and have some experience with. Oftentimes athletes, right, will talk about being in the flow of the game, but by which they typically mean things have slowed down and the decisions they make, whether it's in basketball or hockey or whatever, things just slow down and you feel in complete control of the experience. Sydney was talking about runner's high the other day. Other artists sometimes will talk about the ways in which they have a particular concept of something they want to execute, and they begin working with their materials, and it's just happening. It's just happening, and you can feel it. There's a physical experience of almost something religious. It's kind of ecstatic. Things are just right, and you know it's right. This is something that you can systematically explore, right? You can pay attention to what are the moments in classes, what are the moments in group work where you feel good, where you feel less good, what are the moments in co-op when you get certain kinds of tasks. You need to take those signals seriously. Oftentimes the most common experience I have of the negative version of this is my number one advising question is always, what makes you happy? You know, what kind of things do you think are going to make you happy in the world of work? And I'll be talking to somebody that's in a digitally oriented program and they're in front of a screen 50 hours a week, and then they spend another 20 hours a week in recreationally in front of the screen, and they'll say, what makes you happy? Oh, I love being outside. It's not going to go well. We're kind of getting to the core of maybe why you're not thriving in your academic program. So taking time within the context of a program like this to figure out flow, what it is that you think is most likely to produce it, is a smart investment of your time. Some of that research on flow shows that there's a really interesting and complicated relationship between challenge and success. If you are in a work scenario or a play scenario where you are unsuccessful 90% of the time, lo and behold, right? Regardless of what the return is at the end of being successful, you're probably not likely to produce much happiness. At the same time, if you are in a scenario where there is success 100% of the time, even if the return is compelling, if you're no longer feeling a challenge, people lose interest, they get bored, and they get frustrated with the pathway that they're on. So a lot of the puzzle you're faced with as a student is sorting out what that sweet spot is, right? Where can you be that gives you challenge, but not so much challenge that makes you feel like you're a failure, or not so little challenge that this does not strike you as a compelling use of your time as a human being. Again, test drive, take seriously the signals that you're getting back. Oftentimes, I think advisors experience this one or engage this one, particularly around quantitative literacy. You know, I'm taking project-based calculus for the 5th time. Time to stop, right? Maybe this is just not your thing, and your other thing is out there. And let's go find that other thing. So, again, this is something that time and SOIS I think can facilitate. The third opportunity I think is really being deliberate about building a skills portfolio for yourself. I think the interesting challenge that RIT as an institution is going to face over the next decade is we don't know a heck of a lot about what jobs are about to survive the AI transformation. Right? Even jobs that we think about now as being fundamentally secure, and coding is probably the clearest case of that, there's some sense that AI is going to take over a big chunk of that activity. If you have your heart set right now on being a paralegal, don't do it. Those jobs are done. It's over. Law firms have figured that out. They don't need those people anymore. Bookkeeping, it's done. It's over. It's all automated, right? So you need to think about what are the skills that are going to be resilient, are still going to be around, are still going to be high value on the other side of whatever this transformation is. You don't have to buy all the hype about AI. As a campus, we've been wrestling just the last month with all the fear and chaos and panic about ChatGPT, right? How it's going to ruin academic study forever. I don't buy it. You know, the smart teachers will figure out how to utilize it in the classroom. But there is going to be change. We know there's going to be change. We know that the skill set you're going to require, and particularly the skill set, right, that is going to get you through the totality of your career. It's hard as a student not to be obsessively focused on the first job. But I'll tell you, as a graduate of RIT, the first job is going to come just fine. When it gets hard, and you can ask 12,000 people that got laid off at Google last week and the 8,000 that got laid off at Meta a couple weeks before that, where it gets hard is how you're going to sustain yourself in a market that is rapidly evolving. So you've got an exciting opportunity to be deliberate in gathering up a kind of customized skill set. But you do need to be deliberate. I think you need inventory, whether on your own, whether with a career counselor over in the Career Center, whether with your advisor. Here's what I know how to do. If I was hiring me, here's the things that I would be focused on. And if I was also hiring me, here's the things I'd be concerned about, the things I think maybe aren't there yet. You just need to, you need to be focused, you need to be deliberate, do things with intent. Don't let your education just happen to you at this stage of your life. Some skills that I do think are probably pretty resilient right now. We think design thinking is something that would be smart to look around, thinking about doing a course in UI, UX. Those are skills where are not going to be easy to duplicate by AI. Big data right now remains profoundly compelling. A lot of students think that they do need advanced quantitative literacy to function as a data scientist. I don't think it's so. But it's a smart and strategic thing right now to think about doing a stats class. You don't need to be the highest person who operates with statistic skill sets, but it really helps to be able to interpret data effectively. I think storytelling skills remain high value, whether it's doing a course in technical writing or creative writing or communication or thinking about getting mastery of presenting skills. Tableau on the data science side of the fence, Adobe Creative Suite, right? And not just that you touch these things and have a general sense of how they work, but that you really kind of immerse yourself in them and really can present yourself to the world as somebody that can use these things effectively. Understanding technology from multiple perspectives, understanding the whole product life cycle. I think looking for product management courses, product design courses, public policy courses having to do with technology development. These are all things that I think will be resilient, lasting, and will serve you for a long time. Okay, so those are your three things. Thinking about networks, thinking about what makes you tick, what makes you happy, what gets you into flow, and again, thinking about what resilient skills are going to be. I think it is a distinctive opportunity that is available to you guys as students in SOIS to engage those things in direct ways. As you know, one of the challenges of RIT is most students operate on these unbelievably narrow flow charts, right? If you're an ME, 3 choices to make over 5 years. 3 choices in this marketplace, that's crazy. You guys can leverage that choice-making capacity that you've got into good opportunities for yourself moving forward. So I just want to talk a little bit about the how. And I think one of the things I want to talk about is something I feel like I've not had enough success with yet as someone given direction in this program. Usually when students find themselves in SOIS, whether it's early in the career, mid-career, or late in the career, the only way they think about things, and part of our challenge is we still operate in a bureaucratic system, and there's plans of study with boxes to check and fill. Most students think about the opportunity in terms of what courses they will do. And I would love to break you or encourage you or push you, challenge you. Don't think about courses. Think about skills, think about experiences. Something that you want to know how to do, something that you want to experience doesn't fit in the context of an available course at RIT, tell me. Tell your advisor. Let's figure out how to get it for you. There are just so many ways in this world right now to gather up knowledge. And rather than sitting getting frustrated that you can't get into the one IGM course you want to be in, let's go figure out where that expertise is and get it for you. Okay? You have the opportunity in SOIS to do independent study projects, to do business plans, to launch a business, to shadow an employer, to do whatever the heck it is you want to do that gets you that portfolio of skills that you want to get. Make it hard on me, right? Come to me, come to your advisor and say, here's what I want to learn how to do. Help me do it. I got a guy coming to me 2 weeks ago. I want to be an electrician. Huh, that's really interesting. We found him a company that took on that, that's willing to take him on as an apprentice. And off he's going in the world. We had a student a couple years ago who wanted to learn a particular music production software. No particular course on campus to do it. We found somebody that could teach it out in the community. We have really flexible independent study rules. We have really flexible ways to deliver credit by experience. Make it hard on us. Tell us what it is that you want to do, and let's figure out how to do it together. We have students who take on major service commitments, and we figure out ways to translate that into credit. We've had students who do want to just observe a particular career pathway, and we figure out ways for them to shadow an employer, to shadow an employee, to see, to try out, to get a sense of what that job involves. A lot of students are here in this room because they've gone out on one co-op and discovered what they thought they wanted to do, they hated. So let's not let that happen again. Let's do the exploration to figure out what will serve you. By all means, if you can travel while you are an undergrad, I beg you, travel while you are an undergrad. Because when you are old and have children, you will never get to travel again, except to Disney World, and who wants to do that? So, we have a partnership with the University of Hong Kong, a partnership with the University of Germany, that have environments like SOIS. Our study abroad partners can get you anywhere in the world, and you guys can get to RIT's global campuses incredibly cheaply, in ways that just fit in with whatever your current model is. And going to Kosovo, going to Croatia, going to Dubai will be life transforming, and it will always give you a great story to tell any employer that you have to sit down with. Mm-hmm. So I beg you to think about travel. I'll wrap up with, am I time?
I think you're great.
Yeah, this is great. Two things we ask of you, I think. Meg Wollum likes to say that with the kinds of freedom that we give you come responsibility. That's kind of a cliche, but I think it's absolutely true. I would say that the two things we ask of you to take on, one is self-advocacy. The one thing I tell students all the time is I'm good at a lot of things, I'm not good at mind reading. So, you can leave and graduate and complain that I never got a chance to do such and such, but if you never told me, I just can't help you out. So you need to speak up. You need to tell me what you want to do. Your advisor. You need to be confident as you go out across campus and have to advocate yourself for access to curriculum that you want. You need to keep appointments when people do make time for you. Make sure you're engaged with them and not leaving us in the lurch. And I would say maybe the third thing is, or the second thing, is be self-aware that you do, not only do you represent yourself, but you do represent the program as well. So when you go around and you engage faculty, you engage labs, you engage research facilities, looking for access and opportunity, do it with a little bit of humility. The only negative feedback I have ever gotten in 8 years about SOIS is the occasional student that goes out and makes demands, right? And says, you have to let me do blank. Nobody in this world has to let you do anything. And the sooner you wrap your head around that, the better. But I will tell you that when students go out and say, I'm a student in SOIS, here's what I'm trying to accomplish, these are the skills that I want to pick up. I would love to have access to your class. I would love to have access to your lab. Rarely is there anybody that just says no. There's somebody may say to you, well, I got a problem. I got 12 people lined up that want that spot. Can you work with me is more typical the response that you'll get. So it's kind of a do no harm responsibility. Don't make demands. Just remember that anything that you ask for, there's probably another student behind you that's going to come in and ask for the same thing. And so when you can engage with humility and politeness and empathy to the work that faculty member, that staff member is doing, not only are you more likely to produce a positive outcome for you, but you're probably going to produce a positive outcome for the person that comes behind you. Yeah?
Do you know if I could ask a building that I don't take a class in, but it's a building that I used to study in, if I could ask them for access to their labs strictly just because it's what I'm used to?
Yeah, what kind of lab is it?
I'm sorry?
What kind of lab is it?
It's just a computer lab in Golisano, just a lot more softwares on the computers, and it's always empty, and it's not always something available. Yeah,
so I would make that ask of the assistant dean in the college office, and that assistant dean may say no, and then you should let me know that they said no, and then I'll politely ask, and I'll frame it slightly different, and it's more likely they'll say yes, but they might say no again. And then we got to go ask the question, what is the software that you're trying to get access to, and can we figure out another way to get you access to the software? But again, the majority of people around here have wrapped their head around the fact that you guys are all tuition paying customers and it is their responsibility to try to help out. And again, the only pushback I think I ever see is just when they're just overwhelmed, right? It's a lab that's heavily trafficked and they just don't know what to do. But my typical engagement with them is, what my student really needs is access to this piece of software. Is there another way that we can get access to that piece of software? And people will work with us.
Okay, thank you.
What else can I answer for you? What are you anxious about? Oh, you lying so-and-sos.
Do you have any experience in the accessibility field when it comes to interacting with people who have like any sort of disability?
Yeah, lots of it. Yeah, I would say that it's one of the reasons that moves students over to SOIS sometimes, is just the need for a little bit more opportunity. We have good relationships with DSO, good relationships with Spectrum Support. We have great relationships with Dan Phillips in the Accessibility Lab for those students that are interested in studying accessibility issues. We've had lots of students in recent years do projects related to serving the deaf community. We've had lots of students in recent years use generalized interests in technology to explore. We have a great SOIS alum who works in the prosthetics lab, who has supported lots of SOIS students over the years. So I think it's actually one of the things that we're really well positioned to help out with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What are your office hours?
Whenever I'm there, right? Except when I'm not, is probably the right answer to that question. So just don't worry about it. Just go in, make the right turn down the hall, at the end office. If I'm there, you come in and you talk. And if I'm not there, you just turn to Christine and say, get me on his calendar, and it magically happens. What else? Yeah.
So the SOIS capstone is kind of its own beast. It's really different
Yep.
from like the engineering multidisciplinary stuff or guided capstone. What's the role of the advisor-student relationship in getting that done?
I love it when a student starts a conversation with an advisor early about what they think they might want to do in the capstone, particularly if that capstone is going to involve resources that I got to go find. And occasionally it does. We generally have committed a small amount to everybody in the capstone for materials for whatever it needs. But the sooner the better. And it doesn't need to be just your advisor. You can come and talk to me about what it is you think you want to do. Because usually what I will do is say, oh, I know who the faculty member is that you need to be talking to. So yeah, as soon as you're ready to talk about it, you should talk about it with everybody.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm planning on taking the SOIS capstone course over the summer.
Yep.
Will I regret it?
Say that again.
Will I regret it? Like, is it difficult?
No, I mean,
I've
like
personally
everything in this
never-
program.
Yeah, I
and-
personally never met anyone that's taken the SOIS capstone, so I actually don't really know like much about it.
Yeah, I would say it tends to be a somewhat more solitary experience. There's less students around, but we've certainly facilitated folks that want to get it done in the summer. Are you looking to graduate into the summer?
Yeah,
Yeah, if that's the case, then you need to do it and get it done. But all the more reason in terms of just start the conversation now, right? If you can start working on the capstone now, just because you're not enrolled in it doesn't mean you can't be working on it. You should be talking to me, you should be talking to Meg, you should be talking to Stephen Aldersley, who helps to supervise the capstone. And we'll just get you moving.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
I was just gonna add on, I think like, as long as you have like an idea prior to it, I think you'll have no issue, because the only issue with summer classes is it's a lot of like a faster pace.
Yep.
So if you just, like you said, like just start early, you should be perfectly fine, because it's really, not even really like a class, it's just
It's an opportunity.
Project.
Yeah, it's more just there so you do it, and you get it done, so.
I would say that during the fall and the spring, the nice thing is, I would say that it's more celebratory because we have the symposium at the end and we typically have 100 people come out and you actually feel like you're engaged with an audience. And again, it can be a little bit more one-on-one and a little bit more sterile in the summer. But we can work on that too. Other questions? All right, Orange Blossom. You cannot miss these classes.
Can't miss them.
You can stop me and say, buy me coffee, or you can stop me and say, I'll buy you coffee. Either one works really well. Go ahead.
Where did you get your classes?
From Eye Openers in Pittsburgh. my previous glasses, I had bright orange glasses, and I lost them. I couldn't find bright orange glasses, but I've gone back, and I'm so excited. Yeah.
Do you have any other bright colored glasses?
I don't have any other bright colored glasses, but I have thought about going down that path. But bright orange at
Full
RIT
rainbow.
is a nice way to go.
Valentine's Day pink.
Valentine's pink, yeah. Yeah, I thought about pink.
This is down sort of that same rabbit hole. Do you coordinate your outfit around the glasses, or do you just say, whatever, I'm gonna wear what I want and then add the
I'll let
glasses?
Abby weigh in on that. No is the answer.
He has a unique style.
I have a unique style.
Yes.
I do not look like other deans.
No.
Yeah, one of the.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you like what you do?
Fine question. I love what I do. Yeah, why? Why? Because the relationships I get to build in a program like this are pretty lasting. Social media is pretty awful for lots of reasons, but for an academic, one of the things that it allows for is I get to see students' lives play out over time. And I've been working in this kind of space for 25 years now. And one of the things that I see and I feel especially proud of is young people that get to live their values. You know, I find that students who come through this kind of program begin to expect of themselves that they deserve happiness and they deserve to do things that are meaningful to them. And it's just great to see it all play out.
Hmm?
Thank you. All right, I expect to see you all. Come knock on my door, come visit, make an appointment, don't make an appointment, stop me in the quarter mile, whatever. All right.
Thanks, Jim.
Excellent.
Thank you.
See ya.
Great time too.